Here is Mr. Finley's handy kind of crib sheet, I guess, on negatives. What I'm going to show you is all the different negative calculations you might come up against in various situations. I'm doing this because I've seen so many weird and wonderful calculations with negatives over the last few weeks, marking various bits of work for S3 and Nat 5 and for higher. So I've laid out the calculations. Now I've split them into two very distinct sections. 1 to 6 are going to be adding or subtracting with negatives. 7, 8, 9, 10 is involving multiplying and dividing. And I want you to see the difference. These are not the same. They are distinctly different things. And actually with the top 6, I'm not even going to give you any rules. I want you to look at each calculation individually and think about the working that I'm doing or the thinking that I'm doing. With questions 7, 8, and 9, and 10, I am going to give you a rule which works every single time. But it's important you only try and apply that rule when you're timesing or dividing. So here goes. Calculation number 1, -4, take away 3. Now, tip number 1, this is your starting point. So -4 is our starting point. Never be afraid to have a number line. -4 is our starting point. And then what are we doing to it? We are taking 3 away. So we're starting here at -4 and taking away, which is going that way, going 1, 2, 3. So think of your calculation as the first number is your starting point, and then what are we doing to it? So if we're at -4, we're taking away 3. That was going down, gave us -7. Again, thinking about this as our starting point. So we're starting at -5 this time, and we're adding, which is going that way on our number line. So we're starting at -5 and we're adding 4. So -5, 1, 2, 3, 4 gets us to -1. Now, the reason I want you to think about it that way is I don't want to hear people saying, oh, but there are 2 negatives, so I should get a positive answer. That doesn't apply in this situation. The 2 negatives are referring to different things. This negative is telling us where to start, and this negative is telling us what we're doing in our calculation. So always think of your first number as your starting point, and then your second part of your calculation is what you're doing to it. Question 3. 2 take away 6. Hopefully the easiest one there, but I want to use it as another example. 2 is our starting point, and then we're going from there. We're taking away something. So we're starting 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gets us to -4. Now we get into the ones that tend to cause difficulties because we have a negative and a negative in the middle next to each other. So where are we starting? Well, we're starting at -5, and then what are we doing? We are taking away -1. Well, taking away a minus, and this is where 2 negatives make a positive. We've got 2 right next to each other. That's when they can be a positive. So taking away a minus is the same as a plus here. So it's the same as adding 1, the thing that's in that box. So we're at 5, we're adding 1. Hopefully I don't need to go to the number line for that one. You can see it is 6. Next one, same thing. We are taking away a negative in the middle here. So that's what we're doing. And where are we starting? Well, we're starting at -6. Taking away a negative is the same as adding 2. So we're starting at -6. We're adding 2. So we're going up our number line. That gets us to -4. Finally, again, we are starting at -3. And we are taking away -8. So we are taking away a negative. They are next to each other in our calculation, the take away and the -8. So that becomes a +8. So we're starting at -3 and we're adding 8. So here's -3. We're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That gets us up to 5. Now, having looked at those ones, hopefully you can see just because we've got two negatives in a calculation here doesn't change whether our answer is positive or negative. It's about thinking, where are we starting and what are we doing to move from there? So as soon as you're adding or subtracting, that's what I want you to be thinking about. What's my starting point? And then what's this bit telling us to do? If in the bit that's telling us to do something, we have two negatives, that's when it turns into a positive. Doesn't determine whether our answer is positive or negative. It just determines if we're adding or subtracting in our calculation. Now, this is why people get confused. It's because of the timesing and dividing negatives. That's when it can have an effect. There is a nice little way to remember what's going on when you're multiplying or dividing. As I say, only for multiplying and dividing. If you have the same sign on the two things you're multiplying, you get positive, different signs, you get negative. This is only for multiplying and dividing. So here I have different signs. It's positive 5, but negative 3. So that's going to give me a negative answer because different signs give you a negative. 5 times 3, 15. Same signs, minus and a minus. So we're going to get a positive answer. 2 times 4 is 8. And normally we just write it as 8. We wouldn't normally bother with the positive sign. Different signs again. We've got a negative on this one and nothing here, which makes it a positive. So negative times positive is negative because they're different signs. So we get a negative. 7 5s, 35. Finally, dividing, exactly the same rule. Here we've got the same signs, so we're going to get a positive answer. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So hopefully you can see all the different calculations, and hopefully my explanations give you some clue as to why we get the answer that we do. And always, you can come back and you can refer to these. If you're ever unsure in a calculation, you can look at the examples that I've just done. The ones I've just done cover almost everything that can turn up as negative. So find the one that looks similar to the calculation you're doing, and you can kind of re-watch that one to kind of help you work your way through it. Hopefully that is helpful, and hopefully it'll help us avoid some more mistakes. That'd be great.